Hello, it's Rita Rosenbach here. I'm doing my second live Q&A, and I will take questions during this Q&A and also answer some questions that have been sent to me. Please feel free to type your questions in the comments box, and I will answer as many as I can during the live Q&A. And to start with, I will pick up a question from Martin, who writes as follows. He's got a 2.5-year-old daughter. They're living in Australia. He speaks English only, and his wife is a native French speaker. She's also fluent in English. They are following the one parent, one language strategy. So he speaks English and she speaks French to their little daughter. So far, so good. They also read the books in their respective languages. Though now recently, their daughter got a book in French that she wanted to have read to her. It was his time to read a book, so he read. He's not fluent in French, and his pronunciation is not native-like. So but he still gave it a go and read the book in his French as well as he could. So, and his daughter then commented that please study speak English instead of French. He soldiered on, and the daughter was okay with him reading the book. However, afterwards, he spoke to his wife about it and mentioned that the daughter had reminded him that he should speak English and French. So there was a discussion, and then the comment from his wife was, I'll read here, that he should stick to speaking English only and not attempt to speak in French. And his wife suggested that this is the advice of experts and it's necessary in order to avoid confusion. Just by reading a little bit of a book in a language that you're not fluent in, it is absolutely fine. Daughter will not be confused, and it will not affect her French. And as you already noticed, Martin, from the reaction of your daughter, she actually knew that you were speaking a language that is not your native one, and that's why she encouraged you to use English that she's used to speaking with you. So she wasn't confused at all. Maybe she thought you were confused. I don't know. But children are fantastic at keeping languages apart, and just it's no problem at all reading another a book in a different language. When using the one parent, one language, you don't have to be that rigorously strict about who speaks what. As mentioned, children can well keep the languages apart, and also it's good to act as a role model for using more than one language. So children see that yes, it's perfectly normal to use different languages, and accents are also okay. At 2.5, children like your daughter, Martin, she has identified the languages, English with you and French with her mom, and this is what she's used to, and that's from where her reaction stems. But it's a natural reaction, so don't worry about it. You will not confuse her. What you can do is to at some point tell her that, well, Daddy is trying to learn French as well. Will you help me? And then she can be your teacher in pronunciation and even vocabulary. Children can understand that, and that's perfectly fine. That was for Martin. The next question was from YJ Chun. She's from, well, she's from South Korea, and her husband is Korean, but she has lived in an English-speaking country, so she also speaks English, and she would like, or she has always spoken English with their son, who is now 2 years old, and she's been consistent with it, and she's always spoken English, but the son has been in a Korean kindergarten since 6 months old, and is now almost 3, and at this point his strongest language is clearly Korean, and he always answers her in Korean. So Chun asks, if I keep at it, is there a chance that he will start talking in English with me? Yes, there is. I know it can feel very difficult and demoralizing when a child answers in this so-called wrong language, or not the language that you speak to. But children are pragmatic. At the moment, Korean is clearly your son's strongest language. So that's the language he speaks, and that's because he knows that you understand it and that you're fluent in Korean. He has heard you speak Korean with his dad, so that's the language he uses with you. It's just the logical thing to do. Children don't think about languages in the same way as adults do. They just do what comes easiest to them, and at the moment what comes easiest to your son is to speak Korean. Many other parents have been in the same situation as you are now, that you are speaking your mother tongue, but you are getting a response in a different language. It's normal, but just keep at it. Believe it will happen. It might take maybe a year still before you get the answer, but just stick with it. It can be done. Find ways of making English attractive. Make him want to use English. Maybe use even some kind of rewards to get him to get used to speaking English to you. Sometimes it just needs a little nudge for the language use to start. I know you can't bribe children to speak a language, but certainly you can make the language really something that they want to do, because, for example, you do something really fun in the language, or you go on an outing and you speak only English during that. Just find different ways and find things that motivate your children to speak the language. You can watch, I don't know if you watch TV children's programs at all, but if you do, then use these. Watch them together in English, and then discuss the characters or the plot afterwards, or when you're using or reading English books. Also make it interactive in the way that you maybe stop reading at some point and then ask him some questions and engage him in the reading act. Also, you say that you would like to avoid putting him in an English speaking kindergarten because it's extremely expensive. I understand that. Maybe you can find other families who also have English and arrange play groups and play dates with other English speaking children. So that's my advice is stick to it, believe in the process, stick with it, and don't give in. The day will come when he will answer you in English. Just believe, be positive, and don't make it a big chore or a big thing. That don't try to force him, but just find ways of drawing him towards speaking English with you. And I wish you all the luck in the world, and I'm sure you can do it. And so I don't have any live questions at all at the moment. So they might. So I'll take a third questions. If I don't have any other live questions, then I will be finishing after this question. This is from Monica, who's also grown up in Finland like I did, and she's got several languages in her family. She knows, of course, Finnish. She grew up in Finland. Now she's living in an area a bilingual area where there's English and Spanish in the environment, with English as the dominant language. Her husband is Italian, and her third strong language, beside English and Finnish, is French. So the situation is she would like her daughter to learn, let me just make sure I get this right, Finnish, French, English, Italian, and Spanish. Her daughter is only 1 year old. So Monica, that's a lot of languages. And what should I say? First of all, we always need to be realistic when we want children to learn several languages. You are in a great position that you have many languages that come naturally, like English and Spanish in the environment. You have Italian coming from that, and then you have Finnish and French that you would like to pass on. So at the moment you say that you have spoken English only with your daughter so far. If you do want to pass on the minority languages, which are in your case Finnish and French, then you should consider stopping speaking English at the moment, because since you live in an environment where English is the dominant language, and she will at some point learn English. Also, she's going to a Spanish kindergarten at the moment, so that Spanish is coming from there. So stop speaking English and then choose. I would choose between French and Italian. Which one? No, sorry, not Italian. Italian is daddy's language. French and Finnish. When choosing, I wouldn't start with them at the same time, because there are already that many languages in your daughter's environment. Children can perfectly learn languages through sequential bilingualism. So they learn one language first and then another after a few years or so. I wouldn't start what's called also time and place, for example, that you would speak Finnish one day and French one day. Your daughter at the moment, she's under 1 year old. I would stick to one language with her at the moment, and between French and French and Finnish, it's up to you. But to me, I recommend always starting with the language which there will be less exposure to and which it is more difficult to find exposure to, and that I would think is Finnish in your case, because French is easier. You can find play groups or some other activities where maybe she could learn French later on when she's a few years older, while I can imagine it being difficult to find the Finnish equivalents. So you ask whether if you now switch language from English to either Finnish or French, will she be confused? She won't be confused. Children do not get confused by switching languages. Will she understand you straight away? Of course she won't, because it will be a new language with her. But it will take some time, and she will pick up the language from you. But as I said, I would stick to either Finnish or French, and be Finnish if it's a priority for you. So make sure you make your decision based on what you find important, and that you will also be able to follow up and keep it going. It's this little point in just starting something and then deciding, well, no, I don't want to do it. Just think about it, which language is really important, and then use that language and think about how you can introduce the other one later on. Your daughter will have many languages to contend with, so be realistic. Don't set expectations too high, and support. You need to give her a strong support in whichever language she is starting or learning. To give you a more in-depth answer, then I think we would need to speak one-to-one, and I would ask you some further questions and see what is feasible in your situation. You ask about my book, whether it is suitable because it's called Bringing Up a Bilingual Child. I use the word bilingual in the sense of more than one language. So in my book, there is advice for parents or families, independent of how many languages are involved. There are lots of tips on how to stay committed to the plan you have for your children. There are ideas on how to motivate and how to celebrate your languages, and then also keep the culture going, because language is not only about communication. It's when you pass on a language, you do much more than that. You pass on the culture and give your child a chance to get to know another culture in depth, and this will be something that the child can continue with when they're growing up. I can see that from my own daughters, who are now adults, who, thanks to their language skills, are able to keep in touch with all the cultures that are part of their identities. It is a fairly quiet time, I see. There are no questions in the comments. So unless someone comes with a question, this is where I will finish for today. I will probably choose some other time of the day for my next live Q&A to make sure as many people as possible can attend. Please keep on sending the questions in. We answer some of them on the website. From now on, there will be questions on the Sunday, and I will try to do a live Q&A every Thursday. So every second Thursday. I can't promise you every Thursday. It depends on how it goes. This way we can reduce the queue a bit, because unfortunately there is about a two-month wait at the moment for the Q&A to be answered, and I would like that to be shortened so people can get or readers can get their questions answered more quickly. Thank you very much for those of you who attended, and please keep the questions coming, and I wish you all the best. I believe in you. I know you can do it, and let's keep the languages going for our kids into future generations. Thank you, and bye.